Hi guys, welcome back to Wilder Hope Adventures. I am sitting in my car in my driveway, but something I wanted to focus on today and for the next couple of videos or so is going over some of the questions that you guys had over car camping. Each different video is going to be focused on a different subject. Today we're going to answer your specific questions about car camping when it comes to my car camper, my setup, how I find locations, things like that. We're going to touch base in another video about how I car camp with dogs, the setup for them, how I keep them safe. Also questions as a solo female car camper. We're going to cover that in a completely separate video. Yeah, so we'll see how this one goes. But let's start off with your first question. So the first question you guys had for me are there any improvements that I want to make to this setup? And the answer is a difficult one. Mostly because I love the setup I've got. I love the bed. I absolutely do. This right here, which is what contains Cody, is a pain. But it is the best I can work it out to keep him contained as a crate built into the car. I would love to have a pull-out table that I could cook on, but again, with Cody where he sleeps, it makes it very, very difficult. Or even in the back. I did try to do that at one point. It didn't work very well. It didn't give me enough space. So it's something I'm looking at improving in the future. So I think another question that S. Harrison, you actually asked for that first question. S. Harrison asked about the weight of this build compared to a normal van build. Now, there is a bit of wood back here, but to be fair, I think I've pulled out 5 different seats, and lifting those things out, they probably weighed a good 70 pounds a piece. So I would say this weighs about as much as the seats that were taken out, so I'm not worried about that. Plus, this is designed obviously to carry 7 people, and I don't have 7 people traveling with me. So between the build, which is predominantly lightweight wood, there's not anything super heavy. I haven't used oak. I've used as thin a plywood as I possibly can to do the build. Yeah, to be fair, this storage thing back here is probably the heaviest, right along with my water. Next question from Mark W is, what do I look for in a car camping location? That's a really good question, actually, because it's something I talk about in other videos, but something that I find is vital for me because I'm traveling with dogs who are used to being able to explore is somewhere remote, somewhere that has security from the road. So a lot of these times I will look at parking areas that are kind of in the back country but are set on a quiet road but have hedges between the parking area and the road. I love it if I can have cell phone service because sometimes the weather's not very good, but it's not something I need, especially if the weather's lovely. It's more important if the weather's not great. But I want something that's flat, remote, feels safe, doesn't have a ton of trash, and ideally there's places so the dogs can roam a bit, they can explore, they can play with their ball, and even better if there's places that we can walk off of that. So some of these Forestry Commission car parks that I tend to use are great for that because there's a lot of trails so we can go out in the morning, but it's a big enough area where the dogs can just play, but the traffic isn't crazy. I love a good view, but to be fair, it's more important for me to let my dogs have the freedom than to find a park up with a view where they're very limited in where they can go. So Mark W also asked another question regarding insurance implications, and that is actually something that's really important to go into. This car is classed as a camper. I am insured through A Plan, who are specialized insurance for modified vehicles. You see a lot of vans through them, but they were willing to do a modified car camper because it's a permanent build. The seats that aren't meant to come out will come out. You know, I've put all of this is fixed, even though it would come out. Nothing's attached to the main body of the car, but it is classed as a modified vehicle. So that meant that I could not insure it through a regular car company. Diamond and all the rest didn't want to know, and they probably would have penalised me on that. So I felt like it was worth going through a company that actually was willing to do the value of an agreed value on the vehicle too, because of all the work that's gone into it, but also one that understood modified vehicles. So even though this is a car, it's actually not that much different from a VW Caddy or a Citroen Berlingo, size-wise, which are all, you know, there's a lot of mini campers like that out there. It's very, very important to inform them of all your modifications, and to know that you're going to be covered for anything else going forward too, future implications, future modifications. So if I put a sink in here, they would already cover me for that. If I built another cupboard behind me, they would cover me for that, because it's something that I've already had that cover declared on, as it were. So the next question, I don't remember who this was from, was about moisture control and condensation. And I have to say, this is more of an issue in the winter or the colder months, because obviously you've got warm bodies. I'm in here with 2 dogs and myself. How do I keep the condensation down? And you can get these packs of either cat litter or silicone that can help absorb stuff. The key that I've found, honestly, crack the windows, which is why I have these Heko wind deflectors, is I always keep the windows cracked at night. Now, if it's blowing a hoolie, I might have them cracked only a little bit on the windward side, but it enables me to crack them a couple of inches. But the key to this in the winter and the cooler months is a USB fan. And I clip one right here and point it towards the windshield. So in the summer it's great because I can use it to blow on me. In the winter I point it towards the windshield and zero condensation. So I find that an extremely helpful way of doing things. There might be a little bit behind the curtains on the side, but for the most part, having that moving air, and that's the key. Moving air is the key to not having condensation, or very limited condensation. All right, next up, very contentious subject. Drinking alcohol while car camping. In reality, it's illegal. If you are in control of a car or a vehicle and you're drinking, you can be pulled over or stopped by the police and given a DUI. And this is where car campers are a big difference compared to motorhomes or vans. They're obviously, you know, you put the pop top up, you pull the bed out, it's really obvious that's staying there. I do drink when I'm car camping. I enjoy wine, I'm not going to lie. But I would never have a drink in a place that wasn't remote. In places that I know I'm not going to get moved on, and in places that I know that the police aren't going to come by and do random checks. I'll also set the car camper up in night mode, so it's obvious that I'm not intending to drive the car, if that makes sense. I would never advise it. You know, to be fair, anything that I do is because I'm making that personal choice. But just be aware that having a drink while you're in your car, camper, you're running that risk. So the best thing is not to do it. But if you're going to do it, find these remote places where the risk is extremely low. You know, I don't want to get into that too much. Just be aware of the legal ramifications of having a drink and sleeping in a car camper. Yeah, just be smart about it, okay, guys? So one question that came up actually today was how to keep warm in winter. Now, vans have the joy of either being able to do a diesel heater, or they can go find electrical hookup on a campsite, and that's great, you know, but a car doesn't have that plug-in to go to an electrical campsite, you know, an electrical hookup. So there's sort of ways around this. Obviously, have a good duvet. That's important. Having a really nice warm duvet and wearing a hat, oh my gosh, makes a massive difference. The key is don't keep your windows shut. You will still need that ventilation even on the coldest nights. But you can do the options. You can do hot water bottles. You can do, if you have a power bank, you could do a 12-volt heated blanket just for an hour or so to keep you warm. When I'm out during winter, the one thing I like to do is just get out and go for a good long walk and then crawl into bed and stay warm that way. I'll keep my jacket on until I crawl under the covers. Something else that I've done in the dead of winter is I'll go and enjoy an afternoon and evening in a pub. I'll take a book, stay warm. By the time I am ready to go to bed, I will head out. And I'll have already found somewhere really close by to go camp out. So I've already scoped that out ahead of time. But pubs are one of my favorite things to go check out in the winter and just enjoy. You know, you maybe nurse a pint or a drink and get something to eat. But I think that's kind of my thing for winter. But having a good duvet, good sleep system, it is probably the most vital piece of advice I can give you on this one. How do I approach this subject? Toilets. How do I approach using the toilet? Now, I'm mostly a wild camper, so off-grid camping. Wild camping is such a British term and it encompasses so much weird stuff. I am the kind of person who will go find a tree or a bush, just hide behind it, and I will drop my drawers and make sure there's no one around and pee. I don't use a toilet for that. What I do have for emergencies is what's called a bivy loo. It's basically a fold-up loo that once you put it together, it has structure. So it has a bottom part and a top part, and then you put a bag in it. And I use wood chippings for pets. So it's a biodegradable bag or an appropriate bag. Put the wood shavings in there, do my thing, tie it up, and it's not see-through, so you can't see anything. And there's no smell, which is great. And then you just put it in normal garbage. The other thing that I do occasionally is the backpacking way, which is to disappear into some woodland, if I can find it, and dig a hole. The key here is to make sure it's big enough, deep enough that you bury it properly. There's a thing called poop soup, which means mixing it some water so it breaks down quicker. Sometimes I'll do that. But of course you're mixing it with pee at the same time if you're a girl. And then making sure it's covered well. The other option, obviously, is to have a chemical toilet. Not something I want to have in this space. But some people do, and it's important for them to have that. Whether it's just a comfort thing, whether it's a physical need, anything like that. But to be fair, honestly, I rely on most of the time, if I have to go poop, I'll try and find a grocery store. Tesco, Sainsbury's. We are very limited in the UK in this one. In the US, it was every gas station, every store had a toilet. And that was brilliant. So, yeah, so that's basically how I cover that. There have been occasions where there has been desperate measures, and I have relied on dog poop bags because there was no waiting. I was having some stomach problems and it was dog poop bags. So, do with that what you will. Next up is staying clean. And again, I'm not one for, I don't shower every day. I just don't. If I get dirty and I get sweaty, then sure, that's fine. But I don't believe that it is absolutely necessary to shower every day. I don't think it's important to change your clothes every day, underwear and socks. Yeah, different matter. But, so when I'm out car camping, my biggest thing is just mostly staying as clean as I can. If I'm out for a week, I generally rely on some baby wipes. And I will just take one evening and I will clean from top to bottom. If I'm out, I try to get a shower in there somewhere. I'll go to a campsite, I'll go to a gym. Because by day 4, I'm feeling a bit meh. But there's options out there. You can look them up online. There are a lot of service stations have them. You can go to the gym to find a shower. You can just pay for a night at a campsite, which is often what I'll do because it'll save me finding a park up. So I just look for those basic amenity, £10, £12 a night campsites, and that will provide me with a nice hot shower and a safe place to park. So that's kind of how I stay clean. And as far as keeping the car clean with muddy dogs, we'll get into that on another video. The last thing that people were asking on this video is how welcoming cars are to campsites, or how do people welcome car campers. And the truth is, I've never had an issue, but I choose the basic campsites that don't really seem to question. They are just want you to book. I book as a tent, personally. If I think I'm going to have an issue, I might throw a small tent in with me and put it up. But for the most part, they don't come and check. You book in, they just don't really care. But the key on that one is making sure you can park next to your pitch. And that's something that I've always, never had an issue with, but maybe one time and I ended up not staying there. I had a quick shower and left. But if you are worried, I would just suggest throwing in a tiny pup tent, throw it up, and if you're going to be somewhere for a few days, it's a great storage area. So anyway, I think that's all the questions I had from viewers and subscribers and those on my other social media channels. So I'm just going to let you guys go here. If you have any further questions that you would like me to address, go ahead, please put them in the comments down below. Or if you have any advice further from what I've said on this, then I would love to hear from you. But I'm going to leave this video here. So as always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, and thanks for watching.